Hey there, Steve Johnson, Mentor 555. We appreciate you following us once again. And on today's show, you're really going to enjoy this guest, Carson Vaughn. He's one of the top producers at Guild Mortgage across their entire landscape. He's also one of their top branch leaders. So the guy knows how to lead from the front. He's also a fantastic person. You're starting to see a common theme here with our guest. This guy, he uses a program called The Core, which from everything I can tell has changed his life professionally and from a personal perspective. So sit back, enjoy our show. If you like what you see, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Enjoy. Carson Vaughn, welcome to Mentor 555. Great to have you this morning. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Stevie.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you
you having me out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for at least like the last 5 minutes.
Nice.
Oh, man. No, we've been looking forward to having you on for a while, and I know getting the schedules together wasn't the easiest thing for you, so thank you. A guy who closes 30 or 40 loans a year. I know how busy you can be.
That's right. Just barely better than the average guy.
No, there was a time, and we're going to talk about this, man, over the last couple of years, you probably had some days where you were closing 20 loans a day.
Crazy.
I mean, end of month,
it
crazy years. I know through COVID, it was crazy for all of us. But again, thank you for coming on. You know, it's a blessing to have you in my life as one of my dear friends, but also for me to learn from you, and which is something that I've been able to do. Very first time we met, I knew that you were special. We had our dear friend Eric Weiss, who leads you. How he does that, I don't know. It's it seems like it's kind of trying to herd cats at times. But your production, I want to go over that. 2020, 727 units, over 217 million in production. 21, 784 units because 2020 wasn't enough. 269 million in production. And then 22, you did, what happened to a lot of us, refinances fell off, but you still crushed out 430 something units, over 160 something million. And I really want to get into how you did that. Now that's with your branch, right?
That's with my branch, right?
Okay.
I've got 3 or 4. That included 3 loan officers at the branch.
Okay.
And we can go into the details of their story, their backstory, and how they were grown.
No,
and how
we're
they're
not going to do
crushing it.
that. Well, no, we're not going to do that. But no, today's all about you.
No.
Isn't it? No, it's not. Because it is. It's all about team. And I want to go into that with your loan officers, but also your team members, your support staff, the ones who get in there and grind the meat and potatoes, your team, because you're just like the rest of us. You're just a pretty face, which you do have a pretty
Yeah, not exactly.
Maybe that's not how you get the business in the door. But
No, we make up for it in hard work.
We do.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the hard work part of it, but also I know that you were very, very in tune with the core group, and you're one of the coaches over there. And that not only is a passion for you to give back to other loan officers coming through the ranks, but also to coach and to mentor them. So that's something that I want to talk about today as well.
Yeah, I'd like that. And before we get rolling, I just want to thank you for having me and let you know how much you mean to me. I knew from the first time we went out and hit the ball that you were someone that I wanted in my life. And I look up to you, respect you. You've been in the business a little longer than me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're all over the place, and it inspires me to think bigger and want to do more. So appreciate having me in here.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Slower.
Yeah, slower. And
Man,
just
you're
look in
really
my
good
eyes.
looking.
I love hearing that. That's why I had you on today, because I knew you were going to crush it just right out of the gate.
Well, we had a little dinner last night, and I told you looked lean and mean.
Yeah.
And then this morning I said skinny, and you told me you like lean and mean better.
No. Lean and mean is what we want to hear on the physicality. Skinny is what we want to hear on a P&L.
Okay.
Okay.
Like it.
Okay. So we got that. Yeah. No, but dinner was great, and it was the brotherhood that we share is in that bond that we have. To your point, I think that we recognized early on in our relationship that we had a lot of things in common. And, obviously the mortgage industry has been really good to us. And you did bring up the fact that, I have, past the age of 40, I have been in the industry for close to 30 years. You've been in it for over 20.
Over 20 years, yeah. First job I had, in fact, I talked my way into this job. My, at the time, girlfriend now my wife, her mom ran a mortgage company, and I talked my way into a job while I was still in college. So I finished my last 2 semesters in San Antonio at Trinity, driving to Austin Monday, Wednesday, Friday, kind of like an internship, $10 an hour, and talked my way in, graduated in May, and I saw guys around me that were putting up 8, 10 deals a month, and I was like, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yep.
So that was kind of how I got started, just didn't know any better.
Well, do you know any better still?
I still don't know any better. That's right.
Right. I don't, how did I not know that, that's how you got started? I didn't realize that. So your mother-in-law had a mortgage branch?
Ran a mortgage company.
Okay.
Her
Which one
partner
was
was some guy named Gary Keller. Okay. I'd never heard of him.
No.
And
I've
guess,
heard of that guy.
I think,
Did he write a book called The One Thing?
I think he did.
Yeah, I've heard him, but that's all that I've heard, that he's an author.
He runs a mortgage company. He runs a little team, something like that.
That's really cool. I had no idea that.
Yeah.
So she was running one of their branches that they had for Keller Williams. What was the name? What is the name?
It
of
was
that?
Back then. It was Advantage Mortgage.
Advantage Mortgage,
and
yeah.
him and her owned the mortgage company, and it was here in Austin, out of the Southwest Market Center. And
Yeah.
I got started that way, and it was back when to get licensed. This was back in May of 2001. To get licensed, you go in and you don't really have to do anything, and they give you a book, and it has a list of questions and answers, and you can go take the test, and it's open book test. So it's literally like, here's the answer to the question.
And here you are handling a person's most, the most expensive thing that they'll probably ever buy in their life. What's most important, and it's not like it's heart surgery, but you are basically handling something very important and crucial for someone. And at that time, you're right.
Nothing.
You just sign a piece of paper and you're good to go. Hey, was Tommy Nelms out of that office, out of that branch at the time?
Tommy was, and he was one of my first mentors. I certainly looked up to him. In fact, I shared a wall. He was in the office next to me.
Yeah.
Him, and he had an assistant.
Yeah.
And I was in the office right next door with 2 other new loan officers. So there was 3 of us in a 10 by 10 room, right? So we had to time when you could be on the phone.
Yeah.
But Tommy would sit there and he would bounce a ball on his headset against my wall. Boom. Boom, boom, while he was making phone calls to realtors. And so I learned quickly that, hey, all you got to do is call realtors. So that was how I got started, right?
And dodge the balls that
dodge
are being
the
thrown.
balls.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you probably don't know this. I actually got him into the mortgage industry.
Oh, nice.
He came to work with us. I was with a company called Momentum Mortgage, which that's how I ended up coming to Austin at the time out of Houston. And this was back, late 90s, say 96, 97, whatever that might have been at the time. And he came to work with us at Momentum Mortgage. We had a builder account here in town. And his grandmother had a real estate company out of Lakeway. And, of course, the connection was through the Keller family as well. And he was a lot of fun. He was just a pup. I mean, at that time, he was just out of college, and you saw that he was going to do well in the industry. He had some good connections, but that wasn't what was going to get him through the door. But yeah, that's funny. I had no idea that's how you got in the industry.
Yeah, Tommy taught me to call on realtors and chase realtors, and that your business will be taken care of if you're always in, call it maybe account acquisition mode, right? Where you're always acquiring new relationships. So I heard him hustling the phones, and so I wanted to be like him.
You wanted to be a hustler.
Yep.
Right? With a pimp hat.
Should have worn my pimp hat.
Did he show you his pimp hat?
I haven't seen it.
He only brings it out on Saturday nights.
I don't know him that well, Steve.
So let's go back a little bit. So Trinity, what our guests may not know is that, and I think this is still the case, it is the most expensive university in the state of Texas. Did you know that?
Harvard of the South.
Harvard of the South, that's right. And it is and forgive me if I'm wrong on this, is it known as a liberal arts school? I'm trying to remember, and business school as well?
I think that's right. I just knew, coming from a really small, I grew up on the other side of Kerrville.
Yeah.
I tell people that because they don't know Hunt, Texas.
Right.
Where I grew up, there was like 400 people in the town.
Yep.
And when you call, like here, you dial an area code and then a 7-digit number.
Yeah.
Well, in Hunt, Texas, you dialed the 4 digits. And everybody's first digit started with a 4. So my number was 4282. And that literally rang our house, right? So it was a super small town. I drove 15 miles to get to Ingram, which was a town of about 2,500 at the time. And that was
big town,
where I went to school. And
Okay.
this is on the Guadalupe River where all the summer camps are. And, a nice, sleepy, but great place to visit. So I graduated with a class of maybe 65 kids.
Okay.
And then I went off to Trinity, and there was like 800 kids in my freshman
was
class.
huge.
It was, dude, oh my gosh, it was so big. Like I thought I was going to get lost.
Yep.
2 years later, you know everybody. So yeah, went to Trinity in San Antonio. And
what was that motivation for going to Trinity?
let's see. I applied to. This was back when you applied to University of Texas as your backup school.
Yep.
And now it's like you have to apply everywhere else because you can't
you're not
get
getting into
Yeah.
Texas. Yeah.
So I applied to University of Texas. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, so I applied to Johns Hopkins Medical, to their program, so I could maybe one day go to medical school and thank
Right.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't
You
go to
take a
medical
huge
school.
pay cut.
You and I have done loans for doctors. They're a total mess, right?
I've done loans for mortgage officers who I might be sitting across the table from me as well.
Yeah.
Who they were a mess.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that too. Yeah, I appreciate
Yep.
my personal loan I got from you because I look up and respect you, and
I appreciate
your
that.
team knocked it out of the park.
We knocked it out of the park. Is that what you said? We knocked it out of the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
That's right.
So you decided you thought you were going to go medical school.
Thought I was going to be. That's right. Thought I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay. And what changed?
Organic chemistry and cellular molecular biology.
Okay, that was easy enough at that point. You go,
Dude, I came
business
from
school.
a little bitty public
Yeah.
high school where like the coaches taught all the sciences.
That's right.
Yeah. And then I was going to major in a science, and I had like no background, right?
Yeah.
So I was studying 4 hours a day.
Yep.
It was brutal. I
Yep.
knew it wasn't for me. Switched to business.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. And that has worked out for you. And, let's talk about your progression, from 2000 to, it's real easy to talk about what a stud you are and what your team is over the last several years because you worked really hard and busted your hump to get to that point. But let's go through the lean years, leading up to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Lead me into that. And really, at what point was it that you saw your career really start to take off? Where was that curve?
Yeah, great question.
I know it was.
So I
That's why I asked it.
So got licensed in, let's say, June of 2001.
Okay.
And I think of the career, and I think for a lot of people, they can fall into one of three categories. Let's say I was drifting in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say maybe after 8 to 10 years in the business, I was driven.
Okay.
Setting records, making more money, right? And then
So real quick, drifting for 8 to 10 years. Like you're out in the ocean. That's what I've envisioned, right?
Yeah, we talk about that. So drifting, driven, or being directed, right? And I
Okay.
would say the last 8 years, I've been more directed, right? And so, I think about drifting as chaos, don't have a plan. One day you show up and you're gonna make a bunch of calls. The next day you're putting out a bunch of fires. You don't really know where your next deal is gonna come from. You don't really have a plan, right? So I was certainly drifting for the first 8 years.
But you were doing well.
Doing great, yeah.
Okay.
I think I made $100,000 my first full 12 months in the business. I remember my dad told me less than 1% of people will make $100,000. And so right out of college, I knew
You got to prove your dad wrong.
I'm gonna make $100,000.
That's right. That's right.
that. And then I had a buddy. I had a buddy in high school. Scott's his name, and his dad was a doctor. That's why I wanted to be a doctor because they had 2 Lexuses in the garage. Get this, they had a fridge in their garage full of nothing but sodas, waters, beer.
That was out of.
Oh, I didn't grow up with that.
was
A whole
next level.
fridge just for drinks, dude. So
That's next level.
yeah,
dude.
yeah. So I got in the business as soon as I was on my own. I knew I had 6 months until my student loans kicked in.
Yep.
And you'd mentioned Trinity being expensive.
Yep.
I'm fortunate. I got some scholarships, and the rest was student loans, right?
Okay.
So my parents didn't really pay for college for me,
Nice,
and I got
nice.
to pay that off over the next 10 years after I graduated. But I knew I had 6 months before my student loans came out of deferment.
Yeah.
And the first full 12 months in the business, I made $100,000 to prove Dad wrong.
Wow. Yep.
And then I bought a fridge for the garage.
I was gonna say, I thought it might be the fridge first, but you weren't putting sodas in the fridge.
Full of Natty Light. I could afford the Natty Light at that time. Milwaukee's best.
So that was during the drifting years.
That was the drifting years.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Now we're looking at 2010-ish. You're shifting away from drifting to what? Driven?
Yeah, I think in 2009 was a heavy refi year. And I remember closing 14 loans a month the first 6 months of 2009
Mm-hmm.
and had my second kiddo, Madison, my daughter. And it was in June of 2009, and rates went from 4.5 to 6.5 in 1 month.
Okay, wow.
And I was processing my own loans without a processor, closing 14 deals a month, literally doing it all.
So no assistant.
No assistant,
Okay.
no processor.
No processor.
We were a mini correspondent.
Well, what did
sold
it-
loans to Countrywide and then Enter First, and
Okay.
I would upload the 1003.
Was that
and
still with Advantage, or had you moved on at that point?
We were still with Advantage Mortgage
Okay.
at that point.
Okay.
We were really small. We
Yeah.
got super lean.
Yeah.
Lean,
Lean, see?
that time, 08, 09.
You didn't even get skinny on that. You just got lean.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I knew something had to change.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy that was in a program called The Core.
Yep. Okay.
And they are a real estate and lending coaching organization.
Yep.
And
What's that owner's name? I know he's got really strong personality.
Mr. Rick Ruby.
Rick
My
Ruby, that's right.
My
Yeah.
boss, because I'm now a coach and,
Okay.
and work for them.
Yeah.
And it's Rick Ruby's is the founder and one of the principals of The Core.
And is the deal, and we're gonna come back and just say, but isn't his deal is that he doesn't carry a phone on him or something? He touts the fact that he doesn't check email, doesn't carry his phone or something, right?
Yeah, he
What
says
is
he
it?
doesn't have a BlackBerry or a Blueberry. That's how dated he is, right? Literally, he's got
Does he have a
flip-
cranberry?
He's got or a raspberry or whatever, right? He's got a flip phone.
He still has a
no
flip
email,
phone, huh?
no texting, flip phone.
And so let's come back to that, because if you're like me, and I think that you are, not having that phone next to you, you feel naked, right? It's like I've got to go to AT&T and go find a new girlfriend phone, So I want to come back to him, but that was the driven part. At that point, when you got involved with The Core, was that a shift in your career?
Yeah, I remember in 2009, my daughter was born.
Madison?
Madison,
Okay.
that's right. And I've never shared this story with you, but
Okay.
I've told some other people. We were at the hospital. We were at St. David's. No, we were at Seton, Maine, I think, with Madison. Anyway, I had like 5 or 6 loans closing that week. And that year in 2009, I missed 2 days of work. And one was Christmas Day,
Mm-hmm.
and one was June 2nd, when she was born.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so literally I worked the other holidays.
Okay.
And we were lean. I was hustling, like I said, closing a bunch of loans with no processor. It was pretty rough. And I remember I was on my phone, on my email, in the delivery room, and I told Laura I had to make a phone call on that. So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to run down to the cafeteria.
Which was true.
Yet
there was something
I
else.
was hungry to get that loan closed, right? So I
Right.
went down to the cafeteria and I called my underwriter at the time, and I pushed a couple more loans through, and they sent someone to find me because she was literally delivering. They were like, you're going to miss Madison's birth. So I hauled butt back upstairs, got there with 15 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
And she delivered Madison. And then a day and a half later, they released us from the hospital.
Yeah.
And we're on our way home. And I'm like, hey, let's stop by the office. I need to talk. I want to show, let's stop by the office. I want to show Madison off. A bunch of people are going to want to meet her, right?
Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, my wife is sitting in the front seat on like a pack of ice, sitting on a pack of ice, right? In the car while I run in. And so here I go. I'm running in with the carrier. I set Madison down in the front lobby on the coffee table, 2 days old.
Yeah.
I'm like, watch her. And I ran back and I went into my underwriter's office and I was like, hey, we got to talk on the Smith file. We still need this. I need you to waive that condition. It's got to close tomorrow. It's for my best agent, right? And I let Laura sit in the car for 45 minutes.
So did the ice melt? I'm sure it was June, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Did you have vinyl seats? I mean, what's going on here?
Right?
Right.
So this is more than you want for this podcast.
Yeah,
but
maybe it's not as much as we need.
we don't need this
Maybe
much information.
right. We need to hear this kind of stuff. So you're setting your baby that's 2 days old on the counter at the office for 45 minutes. You're in there.
Felt like 10, brother.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I mean,
man.
I had 3 or 4 files we had
Yeah.
to go over.
So do you
I
get,
grab her, I run back out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. I run back out to the car. I'm like, everybody had to hold her. They wanted to take pictures with her.
now, does Laura know this story?
I told her.
Or is
I
she
told her
finding
about-
out right now?
I told her about 10 years later. Yeah.
Wow, man. So that's just one level of dedication that it takes, or that it's perceived to take, to get to the other side in this industry.
I think that's an example of being super out of balance and broken.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
I remember maybe the next month, probably the next week, she was like, "So are you moving in the guest room or am I?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What's wrong, honey?" Right?
Yeah.
Because I was super checked out. I was working long hours. I did not have any staff.
Yep.
Didn't know how to build a team. I
Yep.
wasn't a good boss. I wasn't a boss because I didn't have anybody that worked for me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And at that point, kind of the journey, my buddy Josh Sigmund brought me into the core, brought me to an event, and I signed up for coaching. And the
For
way
you to be coached?
for me to be coached,
Okay. Mhm.
and what they promised was in 2 years, a 2-year commitment, they would double my income. I was
Okay.
like, man, I just made a bunch of money in 2009.
Yep.
I signed up for coaching in 2010. I remember thinking if I can just repeat
Yep.
09, I'll be happy.
Yep.
But really what I learned was how to track everything, how to build a team. And one of the cool things with the core is that we track not only their income, but their savings.
Okay.
And so we talk about that a little bit later, but I track that information for my students, right? And so they have a dashboard. I have a monthly income dashboard and a monthly savings dashboard, and then we track what we give to charity as well.
And to charity as well.
Uh-huh.
So that's a big part of the model.
Yeah, we gave $22 million last year as an organization. 500 members.
500 members.
Gave $22 million.
Dear Lord, is that like an average of, is
It's
it
a bunch.
40,000?
Probably
Or
40,000.
40,000 a head. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
we had maybe 10 guys give over $1 million to charity last year.
No
In a
kidding.
year that was a hard
Yeah,
year.
yeah, that was a hard
2022.
year.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. Like I'm learning some things about the core, and we're going to dive in even deeper because it certainly appears as such. It appears as though the core not only changed the trajectory of your mortgage career, but it also helped point you in a direction that made you a better human being.
Well, if you, as you know, having a team
Yeah.
frees you up and gives you back some work-life balance,
Yeah.
right? And so a big piece of it is building a team so that they can help cater to your clients so that you can bring in the business. And then as you work on your money,
Yeah.
and what gets measured gets done, right? So
Yep.
we track everything. And as you start to track a dashboard of savings, like, I don't know, maybe my dashboard was 25 grand of income, and to save 20%, that's our golden rule, right? Save 20% of your gross paycheck.
Okay.
So all of a sudden I had to start saving $5 grand a month. And then as you make more money, you're starting to save more money and you're living on a budget. And so every month you're trying to reduce some more expenses because it's on your mind. And that's what we're in this
It's
for,
top of
right? I
mind,
don't want
yeah.
to do this until I'm 75. You don't want me to do this until I'm 75.
I don't want you doing this for until 75. I want you playing golf in the afternoons, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that too, because I know our boy Caden, your son, is he's really lighting it up, and I want to hear about that because I know you're super proud of him, all your kids. But what I'm hearing you say is that related to the core, that also helped you with your team building. Because you were a one-man show doing your own processing, which I don't know how you...
Drifting.
Yeah. Right. And so they get you pointed
Motivated.
in the right
I was
Yep.
motivated.
Yep.
And I was hustling, and it was
Yeah.
out of desperation. I knew I had student loans coming due, and I had no choice but to right. I had no choice but to
what
make
people
money.
don't know at Trinity, you pay student loans for 20 years, and then you're halfway done.
That's right.
So all right. So let's fast forward a little bit from there. You get involved with the core. You're paying a coach. What is it now? Is it like $3 grand a month?
Yeah, back then it was like $2 grand a month.
Okay.
To be coached in groups of 3, and they're about your size, and so you're competing with 2 other people on your call, and you're learning from 2 of your peers.
Okay.
And then you have a coach that's coaching you, and it's a call every 2 weeks. It's an hour long.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks, so it's twice a month.
Okay.
Sometimes you get an extra third call, but what we focus on is your lead tracker. So I learned to start to track every single lead. Like that's the first tip, right?
Yep.
If you're not tracking all your leads, you should track all your leads.
Yep. Right.
Right. And so when I went to my first event, I can go all the way back to 2008, and I've got every single lead I've ever gotten since 2008 written on paper.
Okay.
All the way back, right? 15 years of that stuff. So tracking our leads, that'll tell you where your leads are coming from and what your conversion is, right? And then tracking your income, we call that a pay log, right? Where you're tracking all your closings for the month.
Okay.
And then you track your activity on a form, we call it the Greatness Tracker, but we're tracking face-to-face meetings, break breads, right? Having a drink, having breakfast, having coffee. Then we track your conversations.
Okay.
and then a few
like
other
Big
things.
Brother, sound like the U.S. government here, dude.
I mean,
he
we're a bunch
military?
of-
Was he military? I'm trying to remember.
No.
Or no. Okay, maybe he
No,
should be.
but yeah,
we could
he's
use
pretty
him in
militant,
leadership.
right?
Yeah, the way that our politics is going in this country, we could probably use someone like that at the top. So you had so that was around the 2010 time frame, and then when did you transition away from? When did you transition to the Ameripro team? Because I know that at one point you moved over to them.
Yeah, I think 2012.
2012. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And what was the motivation for making that move?
We had kind of outgrown. I had outgrown where we were.
Okay.
The owner was the underwriter.
Okay.
And I felt like I had to go
At
up there and
Advantage?
sit down after Advantage.
Okay.
I felt like I had to sit down with the underwriter and kind of push my loans through. Hence the reason I stopped by on the way home from the hospital.
Yep.
Meet with the owner, and she was great, and I learned so much from her.
Yeah.
A lot of my technical knowledge and how to structure and put loans together certainly came from her.
Okay.
And then so we left and went over to Ameripro, and then in 2016, Ameripro was bought by Guild Mortgage. And so I've been at Guild the last 6 years, but with the same group, 10 years or so.
Was that when Chad was the tip of the spear at Ameripro? So you went over with him at that point? And when did Eric Wise, when did he move over? Or was he already there? Was he already with
I
that
can't
group?
remember.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not long after I came aboard.
Okay. And so then Guild acquired Ameripro. I remember when that happened, 2016?
16, yeah. I think it was
very
official
good.
maybe May or June
Very
of
good.
16.
And so what was that transition like going to the Guild team? And let's talk a little bit about Guild, because I know that you guys are crushing it over there. You are really proud of being part of that organization. And Guild's a big player. So let's talk about them and why you're with them and why you haven't left. Because I know that you have been, just like the rest of us, people are nipping at your
Courted
heels.
for sure.
Yeah.
Offered some big checks.
We talked about that, right?
Yeah, I went through that transition when Guild acquired us, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, transitions are tough.
Yeah. Emerging
And-
systems, leadership.
Yeah, and we were maybe 300 people that they acquired, and I think going to work for a new company where you're plugging in and everybody that you deal with is already on their systems and part of their culture is one thing, but we were a company that transitioned to Guild, and so loan officers transitioned first, and then behind us was processing and staff, and then behind them was underwriting, and then behind them was closers and funders, a week,
Okay,
right?
yep,
And so it was like I got over there and didn't know what I was doing, and then I had a processor that was brand new a week later, learning the system, and then I got a brand new underwriter whose every file had to be audited because they were new, right? And then I got my closers that were trying to figure out how to close loans at the new
Through
company.
that system.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
And it was in June of 16. I remember the week it happened. I got 10 deals that week, and I didn't even know how to disclose the loan in the new system.
Well, do you know how to disclose a loan today?
No, not now. I've forgotten, but I learned.
You could if you had to.
That's right.
You can process if you had to. That still blows my mind that you were doing all of your own processing. Why?
I was good at it.
Okay, but you were clearly really good at originating though too. Were you not seeing the forest for the trees? Were you just like trying to stay in control of the whole process?
We just didn't have a processor.
Didn't have a processor. And great processors are very difficult to come by, even in today's world. So I know what that's like. I was blessed to have a fantastic processor for many, many years. And when you have that backbone, he gives you that reassurance of knowing, hey, I can go out and get the business, bring it in, and they've got my back. And you didn't have that. You just had yourself for the longest time.
Yeah, and I think maybe we could kind of transition into at Guild. You'd asked, what I like about Guild. They're out of San Diego. They're a big company,
And that's what you like about them, being out of San Diego.
That's right. I love San Diego.
Those
The
corporate
golf
events.
the weather's great. I like corporate events.
Y'all were just there.
Yeah, we were just there for our rally. A lot of neat things coming out this year that we're excited about.
Okay.
But I love that they let us. They're very entrepreneurial, and they allow me to operate and run that branch.
Yeah.
Not independently, but under Eric's leadership, kind of like a franchise of Guild. And
So you don't feel like you're under a microscope?
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
they give me a lot of flexibility to do things my ways. As long as we're keeping a good lean P&L, we're making money.
Yep.
Yeah, they're happy.
If you check those boxes, it's amazing how people will stay out of your way.
Yeah.
You do things the right way, you make good money for Big Brother, and they'll just let you keep crushing it. So, in regards to that, you have your own branch. Tell me about your team members and what that org chart looks like and what those expectations are.
So, my mother-in-law retired maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Let's give her some kudos. What's her name?
Yeah, Patricia Flannery.
Okay, very
Yep,
good.
and she's who brought me in the business. So I kind of talked my way into a job, and I didn't know at the time, but I was a setup processor. I did all the order outs, right?
Okay.
And she still was the branch manager up until maybe 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
And then I took over as a branch manager, and out of respect for her, she stayed in the business another 4 or 5 years until she retired about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And she was another one of my mentors, certainly gave me the chance. Probably helped that I married her daughter.
Yeah, that
That usually helps, right?
Yeah.
And so they handed me a couple loan officers that never came into the office and closed 1 or 2 loans a month on a good month and closed 0 a bunch of months, and I ran them all off. And so I was a branch manager with no branch.
Yep.
And so I started growing my team.
Okay.
And if you fast forward in the last 6 years, that was in 2016.
Okay.
I hired Aaron in June of 2016, and he worked on my team. And you fast forward, and we'll talk a little bit about his journey, but when you fast forward 6 years later, 7 years later, there's 20 people at the branch. 18 of them started on my team, and 18 of them had no experience.
Wow.
So I've homegrown all of them, and I now have a $55 million producer, a $45 million producer, a $30 million producer, and they all started in the last 5 years on my team. And there's a bunch of reasons for their success. They're doing the work.
Yeah, they're doing the work.
They're doing the work.
But it starts from the top down, right? It comes from leadership. And if they didn't have they clearly have a skill set, but having a blueprint and a game plan, right? Most loan officers don't have that. I mean, how many of us in our industry just do what you did for all those years when you were first getting in the business? I still know guys that have no clue on what their goals are. They have no clue on their leads, their lead conversions. And to that point, I actually did all that myself, but without the core, I just knew that for me to be successful, for me to hit my goals and my numbers, I knew I had to get a certain number of leads, which then turned into a certain number of applications, which then turned into a certain number of closes. And then you just work backwards from there. And it sounds like once you recognize that and then decided to take on a branch and then start to take on a leadership role, it's clear to me that that was priority number one for you, for your team.
Yeah, I want to always remember and not lose sight of my top 3 job duties, right? And I think sometimes we can lose sight of that. And I always remember that number 1, my job is to generate leads. No one else can have their job if I don't generate leads.
Yep.
Right? And then number 2, I have to convert those leads.
Okay.
And then number 3, I get to grow and develop a team, a branch, manage the team, manage the branch. But first and foremost, I got to be a salesman to generate leads.
Yep.
And
For
I have
yourself.
To be yourself. And I have to be a salesman to convert those leads.
Yep.
And then I have to be a leader, and leading can mean a whole bunch of things.
Yep.
But for me, it's example leadership, right? I want to be in the trenches doing the work. I need to be like, if Aaron does more loans than me, I'm in trouble.
That's right.
That means it's his branch, and he's the boss then, right? So I got to stay bigger than him.
Yep. Bigger, like physically as well. He's pretty stout.
He's small but mighty.
Is that what his no? So no, I love Aaron. Let's talk about him a little bit because I know him well, and I know him through you. So I'm blessed to, and he's a pretty damn good golfer. On top of that, the guy's sneaky good.
We're talking about the same guy?
No, we talking about Aaron?
Aaron, yeah.
Never mind.
You thought I said Eric.
Eric. No, I said a good golfer.
Yeah. Aaron's an okay golfer, yeah.
But that is, and that's the camaraderie side of our business, right? Is that when you do get to go out with someone and get to know them outside of the office, and then you find out, hey, this cat's a pretty cool guy or cool gal. And both of those gentlemen that we're talking about, Eric and Aaron, they're high motor guys, high integrity guys, and their bottom line is just as important to them as ours is to us. So is he on the core? I would imagine that he has been, or is he?
Yeah, so he is coached by another core coach, one of my buddies, that him and I do just a swap. So I coach his LOs.
Okay.
And so Aaron has been core coached, core style for the last 4 years. And it's not a wonder why he's grown 30% every year. He's
He's
doubled
growing
and
his
doubled and
business
doubled.
in a down year.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he's not like you and me, been around for 20 years with all those past clients to refi, and we lean on,
Yep.
the refis, whereas he had to go out and continue to grow his purchase business.
Okay.
Super proud of him for doing that, growing in a, last year's best year ever in a down year.
And what was he at? Was he at 55 last year? I'm trying to remember where he.
Yeah, he's around 50 million.
Okay.
55 million.
And then his unit average, is he like in that 300,000 to 400,000 range?
He's probably just under 400,000.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So he had some 25 closings in a month, a couple big months in the last year.
And is he right at 30? How old is he now?
Yeah, he's in his late 30s.
Is he in his late 30s?
He looks like he's 25.
He looks like he's 25.
Yeah.
He's hot. Hey, did I say that? I was just thinking, but he is. So, but he's got a great personality, and in our business, you basically, as they say in Hollywood, the person is the triple threat. If they're the triple threat, they're always going to work.
Tell me what that means.
They can sing, they can act, and they can dance. Okay? And in this industry, if you can be a triple threat, however you correlate that, right? It's having a great personality and having fun, building relationships, right? It's having some level of intelligence and understanding numbers.
Technical knowledge.
Sure. And then the third thing is you got to work.
Yeah.
You got to get in and, you have to be driven, right? And it doesn't take long to recognize that in our world when it comes to originators. It's like, hey, are you a triple threat, or can you only sing, or can you only dance?
Yeah.
And if they can only do one or two of those things, can we, you're not going to be a top producer, but can you produce and do well?
Yes, you're talking about hard work and talent, right? The talent would be the charming, charismatic, right? And then having technical knowledge, being good at your craft.
Yep.
And then the hard work would be the having a plan and driven and showing up and doing the work. And I've learned from coaching other people, I'll take a average guy that outworks everybody else, and he'll put up more units, and he'll out earn the other guys that rely just solely on their charm and charisma, right?
Which is what you did for 8 years.
Outworked others. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. So let's talk about your team, right? And let's go even deeper with your processing team and the team members that you have at your branch, because at the end of the day, they're the bread and butter, right? They're your backbone. Tell me how that relationship works with your producers and with that team, and how they lean on one another and back and forth.
Yeah, great question. So we, on the sales side, we know that it takes teamwork to get a loan across the finish line, right? And it takes an army. And clients don't want to be, the two biggest complaints from a client, and this, is number one, I'm talking to too many different people. And number two, I'm having to send the same documents over and over and over. And so, a sales guy is only as good at his job as his back end operations, right? And so we make promises, and they deliver on those promises.
Yeah.
Right. And so how it works at my branch, I got a couple rules. Number one, and this is for everybody, you must want to learn and grow.
Okay.
So you got to get bigger every year. You got to learn more every year. You can't just be drifting and be stagnant, right?
Okay.
You have to have that drive to grow and get better. And if you're in ops, that might be better at your craft. It might be better customer surveys, right? And on the sales side, it might be closing more loans, generating more leads, being more, more work-life balance, whatever it is, but it's wanting to grow. Number two is either on a team or have a team. So I don't want a loan officer that's solo. I remember what that was like, right? And it was just up and down, right?
You want to be that example. You want to be like, hey, this can be done, but it's miserable, and we're going to make this to where this is a smooth process, as smooth as it can be in our world, which isn't always the case. But that's what I'm hearing you say.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And once you have somebody you're responsible for, then you have more reason to show up and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're depending on you to do your job. Right. You have a staff person that way. And then number three, everybody has to be coached. And so you were asking about the coaching. And so, that keeps the needle moving. Wanting to learn and grow keeps you wanting to have your best year every year. Right. And building and growing a team. And so you had asked about team, and we build teams.
Yep. Okay. And it's funny that you say that you want to grow every year, and I think that it just comes with, or at least from me, the presumption that we all last year, it was like a year that you just go, woo, and that it's okay, at least in my mind. I'm thinking, you know what? I may have closed 65% of what I closed the year before and the year before that, but I accepted that as, hey, that's cool with me because I was knocking it out of the park the last couple of years and had that big run up with refis. And refis will come back at some point again because rates have lifted, right? But when you and I had dinner last night, we were talking a little bit about that, and you said, Steve, that's unacceptable.
That pisses me off.
Pisses you off. Well, I'm
First
pissed
year
off.
I've ever had in 22
that pisses
where I went
me
backwards.
off.
First year backwards in 22 years was last year.
That is absurd to even think that, number one, that your trajectory has been going upward every year since you got in the industry. And last year, you still knocked it out of the park. With, if I looked at any other originator or team, that would be a record year for them. But you're upset about that. Dive in a little further. Why?
Well, a rule is to have your best year every year. That's what I'm committed to. Like, I don't want to do this until I'm 75, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody else can do it, I got the same amount of hours in a day. If I'm showing up at work, why aren't I doing the things I need to be doing?
But what if you are doing the things that you're doing?
The market's the market. The market sucks, right?
Yeah, market sucks.
But the market's the market.
Yeah.
It's a sucky market, but it's still the market, right? So that just means that I need to be in deeper relationship with more people. And the truth is, for you and me and other guys out there listening to this, is that we got lazy, content, complacent during the COVID years, right? Oh, we can do this on Zoom. Don't have to bring people in the office anymore. Oh, we don't have to spend money taking realtors to coffees and happy hours, right?
Yeah.
And so we took them for granted because you walked outside and loans fell in your lap.
Well, because the Aarons of the world were out there taking them to coffee and to lunch and to happy hours. When we were, and to your point, fat and happy, we can use air quotes because we were grinding. We just, deals were coming in left and right. You were doing all you could to do to take calls and return voice messages. So I would counter the fact, I know you weren't getting fat and happy. You were busy.
There was a point, and I can't remember when, in 2021, when rates dipped below 3, we had over 100 people on a waiting list to refi. And I was hiring, and you couldn't hire anyone with experience, right?
No.
And so that's when we were hiring and training and working a waiting list. And it was just whoever got through on the phone got to refi. I mean, it was stupid, and you know what we did? This is what, shamefully, I'm like, I'm good. Man, I'm so good. Look what I've done. Look at me. Yeah, and then you fall on your face and you go backwards and you don't have your best year the next year. And
was that for you? Was that a reality check? That, okay, I need to get back to the basics?
Yeah. Wow. Dude, I got distracted.
Yeah.
We're back in the game grinding. Last year was just surviving. The second half of last year, right? Yeah. And so we're back in the game. We're back hunting. I'm being intentional about who I chase, intentional about my effort. I think about right now, two of the words that stick with me are intentional and impactful.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to be much more intentional. And to me, that word means discipline.
Yep.
Doing the things I know I need to do.
Yep.
If that means having an outbound power hour once a day, Mondays calling realtors, Tuesday calling listing agents, whatever it is, being intentional, having a plan and working your plan.
Yep.
Right? And then when you're on those calls and when you're in these meetings, being impactful.
Okay.
Listening, finding a need, adding value, really
deepening the
impactful.
Relationship, basically, right?
Instead of just going through the motions. We went through the motions the last few years.
Yep.
Right?
So how many realtors do you work with personally that are in your sphere that you get consistent business from?
I've got 25 great realtors. I know a couple hundred realtors that I'm chasing, calling on.
Okay. And so let's unpack that.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of value in that, because it's not an easy task for one of us to try to be a great dad or a great mom and be a great originator and a great manager. But also in our world, it is about the relationships and the trust that we build with our realtor referral sources, right? And with me, I do builder business as well. And but we also have our past clients that we get referrals from. So how are you able to manage those relationships with, let's say, your top 25? Because that's not an easy task to keep them all warm and fuzzy. So if they do know that, hey, I care about you, I love you, I enjoy spending time with you. How do you make that happen?
Yeah. You just don't have a choice and you got to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
I think you can have a plan.
Okay.
So it makes sense to touch base with realtors on a Monday, right?
Okay.
Having theme days, and this is what we teach at the core. This isn't me that came up with any brilliance, right?
Yeah.
This is having theme days, and so Monday we call realtors. Why is it a good idea to call realtors on Monday?
They probably had a deal that they were putting together over the way they were showing people property over the
Maybe
weekend.
worked an open house over the weekend.
Did you run
They
into
got
anybody?
some sign calls,
Yep.
right? And so touching base with them on Monday.
Okay.
And then when I'm reaching out and calling my top 50 realtors on Monday, my sole purpose is to set 5 meetings, right? So if I'm calling my 50, I'm like, hey, Steve, I miss you. I hadn't talked to you in a while. How was your weekend? Did you play or did you work?
Yep.
Yeah. How's Sebastian doing?
Yep. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And listen, I'd love to get together with you. Do you got time for lunch on Thursday or next Tuesday?
Okay. And you're trying to get in front of how many people in a week?
15 face-to-faces.
15
5 break
face-to-face.
breads. Uh-huh.
I haven't done 15.
That's not very hard.
No, it's
It's
not.
4 a day, 3 or 4 a day.
Well, it shouldn't be hard because you have a system in place that allows for that. But I think that someone trying to wrap their mind around someone that's not doing that go, holy shit, how am I supposed to get in front of 50? Well, you have to make the calls first. And if that is your goal and that's your plan, you say, well, I don't have those 15 sets, so I've got to make another 40 phone calls.
Yeah, if you set 5 meetings a day, that's 25 a week. 15 to 20 are going to keep.
And are those are coffees, those are lunches, those are happy hours?
Those are all break breads.
Okay.
And then there's also clients coming in.
Okay.
Count that as a face-to-face.
Do y'all try to have clients come into the office when you apply because that deepens the
We're
relationship?
getting back to that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. I could spend the rest of the time talking about why I have the client in the office, but for sure, I mean, you don't deepen relationships over the phone. Like, where have you and I deepened our relationship?
Yeah, in person.
And doing what?
Yeah, breaking bread.
Breaking bread or on the golf course, right?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna bust on you a little bit. You said my top 25 realtors. I've got a couple hundred, and then you pivoted. You go my top 50.
Right.
So what does somebody have to do to get from 26 to 25 on your list? Or how do you get 26 to 6? Like, how are you managing that base that you have with your realtors that you are doing business with?
Yeah, so tactically,
yes,
there are realtors that I'm in constant conversation with because we got always
Deal
we're talking.
flow.
We're right, and so they're easy. Monday, I'm just checking in on them, but we're talking to them during the week, and there's probably 10 realtors that I'm talking to during the week on their transactions anyway, right?
Okay.
And then there's about 25 realtors I work with total that will close about 4 transactions or more. I call that an account, right?
Okay.
And so 1 to 3 closings a year, we call that a top 50 realtor, right?
Okay.
1 to 3 closings.
Okay.
There are a lot of realtors that go on that list.
There are a lot in that.
Yeah,
Yep.
onesie twosies, right? And then 4 to 10 closings a year, we call those accounts.
Okay.
And then 10 plus, we call those guys whales, right? A
whale?
a channel account or a whale.
Yep.
That's right. So I'm focused on 25 and I'm focused on chasing 20, adding 20 new whales. I know to grow in this market in this year, I've got to pick up 10 or 15 more big agents, right? And so that was just going through the numbers, pulling them from MMI, what realtors have closed more than 20 buy-sides in the last 12 months.
Because that's critical mass. You may have a top producing realtor, but if they're not closing buyers, then that's not a good target audience for you.
Let's say you're a whale, right? You did 20 buy-sides last year. Do you think you have a go-to lender?
Yeah.
You probably got a couple, right?
A couple of them, yeah.
So and not all of your clients pay cash, and some of them not all of them get a loan, right? And some of them use whoever they're in a relationship with. So maybe you control 15 deals and you're going to spread it between maybe giving me a chance.
Yep.
You got to be at 20 buy-sides for me to have a chance at closing 8 or 10 deals with you.
And so when you're building that new relationship with a realtor and you're making that first phone call and then you get a bite from that well, right? How do you handle that from that point, right? How do you, let's say that you set up that first meeting. Go have a coffee with them.
I think mindset going into it is that there's no selling on the phone. The only purpose of that phone call is to get a face-to-face meeting, right?
Okay.
I'm only going to build a relationship face-to-face.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're not going to build that on the phone.
Yeah.
And when I called, so I think about how to get in front of them. If they're well, chances are I know someone that knows them.
Okay.
I know someone in their office, so I need to find a connector.
Yes.
If that's what you're asking
Yeah,
tactically,
yep.
how to get a meeting with a big
Yeah.
realtor.
Instead of it just being straight cold, and they say what
Right.
it takes 9 no's to get a yes.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're using that side door, and that's where I was going with this,
Okay.
because it's based off relationships, and I would assume that that's the angle that you're taking. That hey, so and so knows so and so. Hey, can you let them know I might be reaching out to them, and so that way it's not just cold off the streets.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, or if I already work with someone in their office. So I think about the ways to get in front of an agent.
Yeah.
Number one would be calling and leveraging an existing relationship, what we call like a buddy lunch, right?
Yep.
Where I'm going to call you and be like, hey, Steve, I know that you're buddies with Darren Walker. I really want to meet Darren. Can we go to lunch? I promise it won't be salesy or pushy or anything. I just want to take you guys to lunch and just get
Seems
an
like a neat
introduction.
guy. Everything I've heard from you. Yeah. Okay. And then they'll help facilitate that for you.
They'll help facilitate.
Okay.
So really, I would call and give you some honor, try to do something for you,
Yep.
right? And then ask you for a favor. Would you introduce me
consider
to?
me? Yeah.
Would you
Okay.
do- so a buddy lunch is one way to do it.
Okay.
Calling on listing agents is another way.
And then the listing agents, like maybe a listing agent that is representing the other side of a transaction. And are you and our buddy Jim Jordan's really good at this?
Attacking the listing agent.
Attacking
Yep.
the listing agent and building that relationship. And he's told me, he's like, Steve, that's one of my best tactical skills is just keeping them engaged throughout the process. And then they're getting to know me through that process. And that at the end game, I have a bona fide win that they were involved with. They saw how I handled business from start to finish. That's one of the fastest way to get in the door with someone that you don't have a warm referral from.
Absolutely. Calling, I think of first impression is when that offer goes in. And I think of that as the very first opportunity to make a great impression. Then if they take your offer, really thanking them for accepting your offer, telling them what your value proposition is. Hey, look, we're going to close this loan on time. We're going to communicate with you proactively every week, right? And this will close. You will get paid, and your sellers are going to get their money.
Which is
what they care about.
That's what they care about.
They want to know that it appraised. They want to know that we got through underwriting. They want to know that we're ahead of schedule, and they want to know that it's closing on time. Steve, if I do all of that for you, can I earn a cup of coffee at the end of the transaction?
How hard is that?
Super easy.
Super easy.
And you're going to tell me no sometimes. No,
Yeah.
listen, I already
And
got my
some
lender.
will.
But you want it to close on time, right?
Right. If I close this on time, can I just get a few minutes with you? Yeah. And unless they're just a complete ass, which
Sometimes
they are.
sure.
Yeah. So how do you handle, I want to pivot just a second here, but how do you handle realtors, which we have realtors we love, and there's some that are absolute pros, and just like in our industry, right? Then you have some loan officers that aren't, and they're on the other side. How do you handle the realtors that maybe you don't agree with how they conduct their business? And I'll just give you a personal example of one that I'm working with right now that this realtor is wonderful. They're a top producer, but every single day it's 2 or 3 calls checking in on something that
Nervous Nelly.
Yeah. And they're trying to be an overachiever, right? And I can appreciate that because they're trying to really do a fantastic, bang up job for their client, but they're muddying the water. And they're including them on the text or on the emails. And it's like they're asking the same question they asked last night at 5 o'clock.
Again, next
like,
morning.
hey, where's the appraisal? When, the approval? And it's like, hey, I just told you at 5 yesterday, and that was the 3rd time yesterday. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think seeking to understand, is it because they want to look like they're in charge to their client, so that maybe there's some insecurity there that they want their client to see, oh, thank goodness I hired.
Thank God I'm working with so-and-so.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's so involved, right? But I think that there's an opportunity there to coach that realtor up and be like, hey, I see you're spending a lot of time worrying about it. Is it because you're worried that we're going to drop the ball?
Okay.
Can we talk about that? Right.
Wow. Okay.
And what would help you feel more comfortable? Would it be that if I gave you guys an update every 2 days, if we started with that, right? Let you know, hey, we're on track, the appraisal's due back, whatever it is, right? But maybe seeking to understand where that insecurity is coming from, or is it that they just want to look Because, man, Steve, you're spending a lot of time worrying and stressing about this. I can't help but think that if you reallocated that time to calling your past clients or chasing business, hustling, selling, that it would make you a lot more money than you babysitting this transaction. Like, dude, I got this. Are you worried I'm going to drop the ball?
Yeah. Have I dropped the ball before?
Have I ever dropped the ball before?
Yep.
Tell you what, if I drop the ball, I'll pay $5,000. How's that?
Yeah.
Out of my own pocket.
Is that legal?
Out of my pocket.
Just done.
Yeah.
I'll pay your mortgage
I'll
for
pay
you.
that. Not you, but I'll pay I know you're worried about your buyer.
Yep.
I'll pay $5,000
Towards
closing
closing
costs towards your buyer. Yeah.
I love that. And you actually bring up a great point because we've both had listing agents that are like that, blowing you up, right? And I've just always gotten just annoyed with it, right? But I've handled it as best I could. But I need to start looking at that as an opportunity to have that type of
Create
conversation.
a little conflict.
Yes.
Conflict can be good.
Yes.
Call them out on their bullcrap, right?
Yep.
Create a little conflict and see if you can uncover what really is the issue. There's probably a coaching opportunity there. They've been burned before, so they never want to get burned again.
Something's driving that.
Happened, and there might be a great opportunity there for you to swoop in and
and coach them up. Say, to your point, hey, listing agent, and you're
I can tell you're really worried about this transaction.
Yes, something
Have you had a bad
happened.
experience with a lender before?
Let's get together.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Let's go
What's
talk
most
about this over
important to
coffee.
you when you think about working with the lender?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Mm-hmm.
What must you not have? Like, what must a lender avoid? What drives you crazy about our industry?
What drives you crazy about our industry? So, what I want to do is I want to pivot, Carson. I want to talk about how you are able to somehow manage being a great dad, a great family man, fantastic leader at, in the mortgage industry, which is not an easy task. As we talked about, it's like herding cats many times with loan officers. How you manage that, how you are able to be the golf coach at your son's high school, and then how your community affairs. I know that you're really, really big in giving back to the community. I don't know how you do it, right? Talk about your secret sauce a little bit and just start wherever you want to start. Let's start with the family.
Okay. I think that having a start time and an end time is important. I think
work?
having routine.
Okay.
At work.
Okay.
My day starts in the morning, get a quick sweat in, quick devotional, listening to a podcast on the way to work, so get the mind rolling.
A Mentor 555 podcast.
Mentor 555 podcast every time. I've listened to them all twice. You should too.
Yeah, I should. I will at some point.
That's right. So having a daily routine, I think, super important. I think being intentional. I think being efficient with your time and disciplined with your time.
Which most loan officers have a difficult time with that.
Being a slave to your schedule,
Yeah.
like just following your damn schedule,
Yeah.
right, I think is really important. Get into the office, have a quick team huddle, roll into a power hour where I'm making calls to set meetings so that I can fill up my face-to-face meetings, right?
Yep.
And then have those 4 or 5 meetings in the afternoon, and then having a quit time, and then getting home and honoring the time of family and making sure that you, for me, having a date with each of my kiddos, like every couple weeks.
Yeah.
So with my son, it's super easy. He's into golf. I coach the golf team where he goes to high school.
Yeah.
With my daughters, it's a hike, or it's she'll ride her bike around Town Lake, and we'll go jump off the diving board in Barton Springs pool, right? That she loves doing outdoorsy stuff like I do.
And so you're doing that. So you have a schedule that you really try to stick to Monday through Friday at the office. And then when you look at your watch and it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever that time is, you're leaving the office.
3:30 right now to get to golf
3:30,
practice.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay. But you're still engaged. I mean, you still have your phone with you. And if you're at an event or what have you, and you can peel off, I mean, that's what we do. You always have your phone on you, but you're peeling off at 3:30
right now till mid-May.
Wow. Okay.
And then tournaments all day on Mondays.
The golf tournaments.
So there'll be 5 tournaments. 6,
Let's
7
brag on
tournaments.
Caden a little bit.
My son Caden is a golfer. He got started, 10, 11 years old, and he won a tournament on Monday. There were about 80 boys out there. There were some big public schools. He goes to a private school. He goes to Regents.
Yep.
And super proud of him. He's heck of a lot better golfer than you and me. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, combined.
Yeah.
We didn't we?
And we're decent golfers.
We're decent
I'm
golfers.
decent.
I mean, yeah,
I'm an 8 to a 10, and he's like a 1.5.
He's a 1.5,
Yeah.
and he's really driven the score down over the last 12
Yeah, he's
months.
super
and he's
intentional.
he's gotten powerful with his shots. I mean,
Yes.
you said he hit a 180-yard 7-iron into a 25-mile-an-hour wind,
Into the
blind
wind,
shot
over a lake. Yeah,
And-
on 18 to go up and down to birdie the hole to win the tournament.
to win the
Yeah, it
tournament.
was really cool.
That's crunch time.
Yeah.
And the kid that he beat is one of the
Going
top
to
golfers.
college. Yeah, he's on scholarship next year to go play college golf.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's exciting.
that is
But
exciting.
but he's disciplined. I hope that if nothing else, I can leave behind a legacy to my kids of hard work pays off, right?
Yep.
So Caden wanted to get stronger, so he tracked for a year how many calories, how many grams of protein. Then he did strength training and flexibility training, and he's got a coach that holds him accountable for that. Just like I have a coach, just like we are coaching our people, right?
Yep.
Having a mentor or coach is so important. It's the
Yep.
reason I'm where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I do the work, but having direction of someone being directed.
Yep.
Like we talked about drifting, driven, or directed. Being directed, saying, "Hey, do this on Monday, do this on Tuesday. Caden, eat this many calories, eat 220 grams of protein, 30 minutes of flexibility, 30 minutes of strength."
Yep.
Right?
And that's really helped him. I mean, he's
really
hitting
helped him.
drives 325.
325 from 250 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And he's a lanky kid, right? He's like 6'1". I mean, he's getting
about
tall.
6'1".
And, so he, I think it's pretty obvious that he's driven,
He's driven.
right, to take his golf to the next level. He wants to play collegiately, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
okay.
he wants.
Okay. Okay. And let's let it be known that the 80 kids in the tournament that he beat, many of those kids are D1 scholarship kids that have
A couple of them, a couple of them will be as we
Mhm.
advance through regionals and state. Like when we get to the state level, there'll be 10 D1 kids there.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so you're really committed to Caden's excellence in golf, and your kids are all doing great in school, and they go to a private school.
yeah, they go to a tough school.
They do. They go to Regents.
He had a 4.0 average, first time ever. This is his junior year, so in spite of all of that, his grades are up, and and he's working really hard. The kid puts in 2 hours a day on the golf course every
Well, you
single
guys,
day.
you guys are in a great school district. Tell me what the decision is for the family. Why y'all decided that, hey, this is the direction we want to go with our kids. Not only private school, but this particular one, because I think that's important for us. to know.
Yeah, our kids are in a classical Christian school. I love that the class size is about 80 to 100 kids per grade, which was similar size to what I grew up in. So if you want to play football, basketball,
You're on the
soccer,
team.
You're on the team.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't cut.
Yep.
You're on the team. You may not
Yep.
get a lot of playing time, but if you want to play 5 sports, you can play 5 sports,
Yeah.
right? And I love that it's K through 12, all on the same campus. So Fridays, when we have football games on Fridays, the grammar school, which is the elementary school kids, are buzzing and excited about Friday night football. So there's a lot of community there in the school, and we enjoy that.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it's not cheap either.
It ain't cheap.
So
it's a loan a month.
it is a loan a month,
Yeah.
isn't it?
The mortgage is 2 loans a month.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's part of that commitment. It's part of that dedication, and your kids are turning out great. And I think that both you and Lori should pat yourselves on the back for having that that forethought of this is the direction that we're going to go for our family, and it's showing in spades with how your kids are turning out.
Yeah, they're thriving in
Yeah.
school. They work hard and they're doing.
They get that from their
super
mom.
proud of
They
them.
get that from their mom
For sure. Yeah.
So you're mentoring your kids at home. I want to pivot into how you are mentoring your pupils at the core
Yeah.
and your team at your office.
Yeah, great. In the office, I know that we talked about leads
Mm-hmm.
solve all problems.
Yep.
Right? More leads,
Mm-hmm. More closings.
more closings.
Yep.
Right? So I need to know what my guys' leads are on a weekly basis, that they're hitting their weekly goals, and having them in.
These are your guys at your office.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're turning in lead trackers, greatness trackers. They're making Monday realtor calls, Tuesday status calls, Wednesday TBD pre-approval calls, Thursday past client calls, Friday VIP calls. Right, they're on the same plan.
Okay.
Theme days, making those calls, turning in their homework every 2 weeks, being coached, being fined if they don't do their homework.
Okay.
Right.
What does a fine look
Results-
like?
Results through accountability.
Okay.
Right. It depends.
Yeah.
Back when Aaron was broke, closing 4 or 5 loans a month, his fine was seeing I'm a Barbie girl in a skirt and a red pink wig or whatever on social media. Now it might
I
be
thought he was doing that beforehand.
He probably was. Now it might be a $500 fine for not making all his calls, or $200 fine for not making all his calls.
And making certain that there's an accountability partner. Are you their accountability partner?
Yeah, they've got me as an accountability partner. They have the other loan officers they're competing with.
Okay, within the
they're
office.
on a call within the office, and then they have their coach, my buddy, that I coach his LOs and he coaches mine. Right? He has Brian is his name as accountability.
And are you deepening the relationships with them outside of the office as well? And if so, what are you doing?
Yeah, great question. I think a weekly or monthly meeting to get one-on-one time over breakfast or outside of the office so that you can really just talk about the person and get to know them. Aaron and I, like in the office, I'm boss. I do more deals. I close more business, so I'm boss, and he looks up to me, right? And he's on my heels right now.
Yep.
Maybe going to beat me, right? So
he's
I'm
probably
super
out
calling
calling your listing agents right now.
He's probably calling my agents because I'm in here. It's Monday.
That's right.
What is today? Monday?
I don't know. What
Wednesday?
is it?
I don't know.
They all run together.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
One or the other. So, in the office, I'm boss as it relates to work. And then Aaron's a super fit guy, played very competitive 6A high school football. And we work out together. We go trail run together. We have
Y'all are buds outside the office.
Yeah, I got a boot camp guy that trains the team twice a week. At 4 o'clock, we work out on the parking garage. And, my only job is to push Aaron, like almost keep up with Aaron, sometimes beat Aaron, right? To get my trainer to say, good job.
Yep.
And Aaron to say, man, you pushed it today.
It's almost like y'all have a big brother, little brother type relationship. Is that kind of how you feel about it?
I certainly feel like he's a brother to me, for sure.
Yeah.
To watch his journey from, starting to work for me at $40,000 a year to making,
40 grand a week,
40 grand a month.
Yeah.
Right. It's just been so fun to watch him go from this single guy that drank and partied, and to see him now, he's been sober for I think 4 years, 3 or 4 years, and watch him become engaged and start to become this family guy. Watch him buy a couple homes, and I'm just super proud of his growth.
Yeah, and so when you're mentoring your team, and you have the other team members, that you are clearly mentoring from a leadership perspective, but also life skills, right? Because you're a role model for them, whether you know it or whether you want to accept it. It's true. They see all of your actions in and outside of the office. So for you, how important is that for you to exude the leadership skills in and outside the office?
So I don't think of myself, first of all, as a leader, right? I think that's something I want to aspire to be.
Okay.
I think my leadership style is probably first and foremost. If you think about different leadership styles, there's a dictator leadership style, right? Do this because I said so. That doesn't really work, right? And then there's example leadership, and that's just getting out in the trenches and doing the work, and you inspire others because you're doing it yourself. I'm not willing to ask you to do something I'm not willing to do myself, right?
Yep.
And then I think really what we're after, and I know this is important to you as well, and what I'm after is really being more of what we call a servant leader.
Okay.
Right? Where I care about them, I care about their well-being, I'm serving and loving on them, and they rise up because of it, right? They feel like they belong, and they want my approval, right? And I think that's what helps them grow. That's what builds a great organization, is that, we're a family, we serve on each other, we serve our clients, and I think that servant leadership is super important.
So you're 47?
44.
44?
Thanks.
Okay, you look 47.
Yeah.
Mortgage,
it's like doggy years, the mortgage business. I'm like
is.
250 in doggy
my
years,
God.
in mortgage years.
Oh my God, you're ancient. So if you have, you don't consider yourself a leader, but you are, I think what I might rephrase that too from the outside in is that you're clearly a leader, but you're wanting to, just like with your production, you're wanting to constantly improve your skills year over year to be the better version of yourself as a leader. So trust me, you've got the leadership skills, and you're doing a great job with that. If you have someone that is coming up through your team, or someone that you're coaching, that's an originator. They're doing well. Now they have their skins on the wall, and they're like, "Hey, I want to be a branch manager."
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Yeah, let's build a team and start growing your production,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's get you to 20 loans a month. And then let's put a couple of junior loan officers underneath you, and you start building and growing and show me you can do it.
Yep.
Right. And then you've got the formula to start to grow your own branch. Right.
Okay.
And so that's what I would tell them is, hey, get your production up to where you want it, make $1 million a year doing loans. And then let's talk about how to build passive income from growing a branch. And we can do that by you growing and developing team members into salespeople.
So you would embrace that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being a branch manager, what comes with that are all the responsibilities of leading a team, but also, as you had mentioned, the passive income. I would say it's probably passive active income, right?
It's like passive losses right now.
That's right.
Let's be clear. January and February of 2023 is where we're at right now, and it's like passive losses. Yeah.
And I think it's important for that to also be a topic of conversation for those that are wanting to come up through the ranks. Yeah, it can be really, really good when you're crushing it. And being a branch manager, you're going to make that extra income and that extra comma on your W-2 or your 1099, but also be mindful, young buck, that when it's lean, it all falls on me as well. So we're in the red.
Right.
Let's
be clear. It's not a good time to be a branch manager or an owner right now. People aren't exactly standing in line to get a mortgage at 6.5%.
No, they're not seeing it.
No.
But you also explain to them and go, hey, this is the importance of a P&L. We have our personal P&Ls that we have to manage. But as a branch manager, I'm having to manage this business P&L for a company that has to manage their business P&L.
And they have shareholders.
That's
they
right.
are a for-profit business.
Yes.
Right? And so
Yes.
at some point, we got to step up and do more loans, or I have to make tough decisions.
Yep.
Right? And I care about these guys are a family.
That's right.
I don't want to let somebody down and be a bum and lay somebody off. So we got to step up our game and go out and bring in the loans.
So what are you doing as far as investments are concerned, right? We've made some great money over the years. Where are you parking your money?
Yeah, great question. I've got some in real estate.
Okay.
I have a few rental properties. They're all single family homes.
Are they self-managed?
I manage them.
Okay.
That's right. And we've done well on them. I put them on a 15-year note.
Yep.
So what I did was I bought a house for each of my kids when they were about 2 years old, so that when they graduated high school, that 15-year note would be paid off, and there's their college savings, right?
Okay.
So I just did one for each kid. So my kids are about 3 years apart, so I have three rental properties, right?
Are they in Austin?
And they're all in Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've all tripled in value, and the mortgages are almost paid off, right?
Okay.
Because I've got a 17-year-old, so that mortgage just about paid off.
Yep.
And then I have a almost 14-year-old, so we're
getting close
10
on that
years
one?
in or so
Yep.
on a 15-year note,
Okay.
right? So I think you should have exposure to real estate. We talked about Rick Ruby a little bit.
Yep.
He's my boss. I look up. He has more money than anybody else I know, and so I follow his money philosophy.
Okay.
Right.
And what is his money philosophy?
50%. Like philosophy is monthly investing.
Okay.
So dollar cost averaging over time. So the market's up, we're buying. The market's down, we're buying.
Okay.
And so the philosophy is save 20% and put it in the market.
Put it in the market.
That's
Okay.
right.
And is the market the stock market, the bond market?
That's
Okay.
right. And
S&Ps?
so specifically
Okay.
pick your 4 or 5 companies that are blue chip names, they're household names,
Yep.
right? And then the S&P 500. Like, how could you go wrong with the S&P 500?
Yeah.
If you look at the S&P, it's the who's who.
Well, and that's what the Oracle of Omaha says. Just
Warren Buffett.
worst case scenario, just follow the
All
S&P.
of it. He's leaving his entire fortune to be invested in the S&P 500 and not think about it, right?
Not
So
even
if it's
think
good
about it.
enough for him,
Yep.
it's good enough for me.
he's done the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So are you investing in, and would Rick recommend to invest in the blue chip stocks, but the ones that pay dividends and not worry about what the stock price is doing because they're long holds?
Sure. He would say pick what you like. For me, I use an iPhone, so I buy Apple.
Yeah.
For me, every other day, 3 boxes show up on my doorstep, so I buy Amazon.
There you go.
For me, when we need to go to the grocery store, I go to Costco and spend $500 on going there to pick up 2 things.
Yep.
Right? So I buy,
and you pay a membership
I
fee.
buy Costco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Ford. They're
Yeah.
cheap.
Yep.
So I buy Ford. They're getting into the electric space, right? And some people love Tesla. Some people love something else, right? But like, I don't think
Buy what you believe in, basically.
Ford's not going away. My kid drives a Ford Bronco, right?
Yep.
I like Ford. I believe in it.
Yep.
I use an iPhone. So, those are some of the ones that, and then I like Procter & Gamble because they make a whole bunch of the consumer staples that if you look at your toothpaste and your shampoo and your toilet paper, right?
Oil and gas isn't going anywhere, and
Oil
you
and
look at the
gas isn't
dividends
going
that they throw off. So the market, real estate, what about when you have a buddy that comes to you and says, hey, I've got this.
I need money.
Which
That happens too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I took a rule from my wife. She said, no is only 2 letters. Yes is 3 letters. It's a lot easier to say no. And I said, I know, I've heard that from you for years.
I like that. I've never heard that.
How about that,
Yeah.
right? But when you have someone that brings you maybe an investment opportunity, right? And it's not a traditional measure. Are you doing any of that?
I've dabbled a little bit in that. I mean, my time and money needs to stay in doing loans.
Yep.
So I'm pretty focused on, like, I know how to do loans and do them well. So I probably don't have any business developing and getting distracted with other things that might be these long shot home runs. I know that doing loans and saving 20% and dollar cost averaging over time, will
what that
create
result
a
is.
multi-millionaire in 10 or 15 years, right? If you save 10 grand a month at a 10% return, it's 10 million bucks in about 12 years. Wow. 10 grand a month.
And y'all do the math for your young loan officers that you're helping them with their investment
$1,000
skills
a month. You can have $1 million in 12 years. If you earn 10%, you're probably going to earn 7%. So it might take 15.
Well, also be mindful of the fact that, like 401ks, are you invested in Guild's 401k plan?
That's right.
Do they do some sort of a match?
Some matching, so you're getting
you're automatically getting a 2-for-1 or whatever it is.
If you're in 30% tax bracket, and this is something that I teach my clients when they come in, I teach them about how owning a home is such a critical piece to their wealth accumulation, right? And then number 2, we need to have 3 to 6 months reserve so you don't ever get into credit card debt. So if you're in debt, we need to start overpaying your credit cards and get you out of credit card debt, right? Then number 3, we need to teach you about investing. And the first thing we do is max out your 401k because you're saving 30%.
Saving 30%
taxes
and it's free money.
You get the match.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a 50% return on every dollar. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
You do it, right?
Yeah.
And then we start teaching them about putting money into the stock market. Pick a couple stocks in the S&P.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I learned from you today, and a lot of this obviously I knew, but our audience, didn't, is that you own the relationship. You own your time, and you recognize the importance of those, right? Of being accountable, of having a system in place, and that doesn't just speak in regards to what you do at work, right? So you do that at home, and it's paying off in spades with how your kids are turning out, and your kids at the office, right? These young, these young pups.
My family, my home family,
they're
my
your
work
extended family.
And let's be clear, it's tough.
Yeah.
And often I'm good at work and I'm not good at home.
Yeah.
And I focus at home and I'm good at home and I'm not good at work, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm perfect and I do this and I'm so, showing up big and play big every single. No, dude, I have bad days. I try to have bad moments and not bad weeks or months. Like, those people that are in a funk and they have a bad moment and it turns into a bad week.
Well, I know your family is spiritual and faith driven.
Yeah.
And I know in conversations that we've had in regards to that's really important for you. And to that point, when you have that faith and you believe in yourself and you believe in your personal model, whatever that may encompass, you can have a bad moment, but maybe it's not a bad day.
Right.
You can have a bad 5 minutes, but it's not a bad hour. And it doesn't turn into a bad week. And then it just turns into a bad attitude.
Right.
Right. And it comes with that ownership, man. Well, I want to thank you for coming today, Carson. It was overdue. I knew that we had it on the docket and we were going to squeeze it in between your 32 loan applications that you were going to take today. Somehow we pulled it off. But thank you. You're a brother. You're somebody I care about and I love. And man, I can't wait to see how things evolve from here for you in your personal life and in your professional life. But I know you're going to keep shooting for the stars, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
All right, cheers.